Audio is fine.
Okay.
You can start.
Okay. Reading is to the mind. Oh God. Sorry. Reading is to the mind what exercise is to the body. So now here we know that these days we are very, very particular about our physical fitness. Because of the coronavirus, everybody is working very hard on it. But we know that keeping our mind fit is equally important. And for that, what can be better? What can be better than reading books? Reading fictional books will take us away from all the pain of the reality and take us to an imaginary world, a world of dreamland. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Geeta Kashyap, your host for today. Today is the 23rd session of the Leaders Are Readers book club. And I've attended personally 5 sessions already. This is my 6th session. Believe me, trust me, each session was amazing. It was really wonderful. Each session had something unique, something interesting for us to take away. I'm sure this session also today is going to be extremely entertaining and fun, filled with fun. Now, let me tell you something about today's session. Today's session, we will first begin with the keynote speaker, followed by a 5-minute question answer round. The audience can ask questions from the keynote speaker. After that, we have a surprise for you all, a wonderful storytelling session by Shreya Kumari. She is from Patna Toastmasters Club, and she's pursuing her honors in chemistry. After that, we have another very, very interesting session for all of you. No, it is not the regular book recommendation session. It is a storytelling session for all of us. The audience can showcase their intelligence here. They can showcase their imagination here. They can tell 2 minutes each for each story. The time limit is 2 minutes. So you can nominate yourself for the storytelling session. Now, let me invite. Sorry, the time management is equally, I cannot forget the time management. Without time management, nothing is possible. Suppose I continue to speak on and on and on. You can imagine what is going to be the condition of this session. Abu is going to, Param and Abu, they will switch off my camera. So it is very important to keep in check the time. Otherwise, it is going to be a chaotic situation. For that, we have a very dedicated Toastmaster again from Patna Toastmasters Club, that is Ashahar Adib, as the timer for today. Now, I want a big round of applause for Ashar. Okay. Now we have, without further ado, let me introduce you to our keynote speaker for today. Let us welcome a very charismatic, energetic, and lively keynote speaker, that is Arshin Kaur Chugh. Arshin, she is a computer science engineer by profession and has been working in Tata Communications for the past 2 years. Presently, she is pursuing her MBA from Ranchi. She is an avid reader, especially fictional novels. She's very fond of based on psychological concept. She writes poetry and stories. Arshin is also a trained Kathak dancer and a trained trained in classical music as well. She has participated in various plays, debates, and impromptu speeches in her school and college. Oh my God, such a multi-talented girl. I'm really, I'm really amazed at such a young age. At such a young age, how can somebody be so much full of talents? It sounds incredible, unbelievable. Well, let me now invite a multi-talented and energetic keynote speaker, Arshin, to this virtual stage. I request everybody to unmute themselves and give a big thunderous round of applause to our keynote speaker. All the best, Ashwin.
Thank you. Thank you, Geeta. Thank you, everyone. I'm very fortunate to be connected to Abu and to get a chance to come here because of Amrit. You all must have heard from Amrit in the previous one or two sessions, and then there was Ganesh and there was Pankaj. So all the illustrious members of my club and various other clubs who I have admired. So it's a very big opportunity for me to come on a stage like this and address all of you and talk about something that I love. All of the things that I've done in my life kept aside, books are the one thing that can change my mood completely if I'm in a bad mood. So I'm going to talk about books today, but before that, because I see a lot of people have switched on their videos, switched off their videos, so I want to see all of your faces, at least for the first 5 minutes. After that, you can switch them off. And we'll do a quick breathing exercise so that we're all in the moment and away from our office work that we were doing in the first half for today. I'll call out names if I don't see videos in the next 2 minutes. So it's better you switch on your videos. And I still see some people who have not switched on their videos. So I'll give you another 1 minute. Hi, Pragya. Okay. So now I see all of your beautiful, lovely faces. Can we close our eyes for a minute and just bring ourselves back into the moment? All of you close your eyes and I'll just say a few things and you can feel them and then we'll be back here. Take a deep breath in, out. Take another deep breath in, out. Think about that one thing that went great in today's day. If it went great, I can't see much smiles on your face, but anyways, I'll assume it was great. And then think of that one thing that you could have done better, that one person you could have talked to a little better, or that one small TV series ka episode or something that you could have done with the extra time that you had on your hands. Great. Now you can open your eyes and we will now discuss about one thing that unites us all and that has brought 37 of you out here on this call. So I request all of you to open your eyes, take a deep breath and be back in the moment, and give me a moment. I'll start the presentation of my screen. If someone can confirm if they can see the screen.
Yes.
So I'll not go into presentation mode because I want to see a few faces. It'll look like I'm talking to a screen. So if that's not an issue and if everything's visible, I'd request you that I'll stay in this mode. So I read this article. Okay, before starting, I request the timer to alert me when it's 19 minutes so that I get to know when I have to stop. So I read this article somewhere recently, which started with this line: is 1984 the dystopic novel a fiction or a non-fiction? Now, as far as I remembered, 1984 was a fictional novel. But at that time, also, when I first read 1984, it felt like I was reading a real story, the story that is going on around us today. I'll not delve into much political discussion about what 1984 is, what is dystopia, how can I relate it to my present or your present. But what it made me think about was the fact that the stories that we're reading today, are the fictional novels that we're reading a little too real? Are we moving towards a world wherein we're moving from fiction to facts to non-fiction? Are we moving towards a world wherein the stories that are written in the fictional novels, I feel like I've seen them somewhere, or I've heard about them in the news, or it's just too relatable. And just because of that, I was doing this small research and I found an article from HBR also, which said that there is a whole full-fledged research that is going on because the young adults of today, the people who are becoming authors in 2020 or in 2019 or in 2018, or the people who are going to come, all of them are writing stories that are too real. Even though there are elements wherein you incorporate some amount of fiction into them, they're still very real, relatable, and close to the reality that we're going through. And because of that very reason, I feel like all of us should at least read the kind of fictional novels that have a message. And when I talk about the fictional novels that have a message, At least the last 10 fictional novels that I have read had a message in them. So I'm going to talk about four of them and what I understood from those four novels. Now, if you are on the Leaders Are Readers book club group, you might have participated in the activity, favorite quote, favorite fiction book. Why I did that challenge or why I did that activity was for the very reason that I'm going to talk about books through the various quotes that I related to them in. And that's the closest we can come to remembering a book. And, whenever someone asks me, what do you remember about that book, or what is your favorite novel, or what is that one novel that you would recommend? First of all, the genre that I would recommend would be fiction because I've grown up reading fiction and I've fallen in love with the world that fiction creates. But of late, I have started exploring the question of why I'm reading fictional novels so much and is it benefiting me in any way? Because I see this a lot that people say that non fictional novels are more related to reality. Obviously, non fiction novels are talking about current events or talking about events that happened. But then I found out that the books that I'm reading also have a very large purpose and everyone should be reading them. We are missing out on a lot if we are not reading fictional novels that are being written today. And if you go on Instagram also, there is this account which is called Fiction Matters, and I started following that account. And there's a lady who posts a lot of book recommendations there, and she has around 100,000 followers just by her recommendation. What she does is that you can tell her what genre you like, and inside a genre, what kind of fictional novels you like, and then she'll recommend to you a mood palette, at least 10 to 15 books that cater to that particular mood. And you know what that is creating is a world wherein we are getting to know about a lot of topics which we otherwise would not have read about. That happened to me recently, that the novels that I've been reading about Black lives. I've been reading about homophobic and transphobic, the homophobic and transphobic world that we are living in today. So I'm reading about a whole lot of things just through the books that I'm reading. And it's so fortunate that I have this opportunity to buy and to read the books that I'm reading and that I want to pass on the learnings that I have from them. So, the first book that I'm going to talk about today, and I think everyone should read it, I talked about it in my video also, it's The Goldfinch. So, why I want to be, recommending this book everywhere to everyone, and why I want all of you to read it is because it talks about, first of all, it talks about art, it talks about paintings, it talks about culture. The image of the bird that you see on the screen is the image of Goldfinch that was painted by Fabricius a long, long time ago. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into the story, but to give you a gist of the story, there was this boy who was called Theodore Decor, and he lost his mom, he lost his dad, he lost his best friend, and he lived a very broken life. He lived a life of trauma. He lived a life wherein he was not able to understand what kind of person was he. So this book talks about the personhood of a person. It talks about how you navigate trauma. It talks about how when someone leaves your life, you lose all hope regardless of what lies in front of you because you only think about the people you lost, the places that you're not able to go to, the bad experiences that you had in life. And because of that, you suffer a lot of trauma. And if we're not able to process that trauma properly, it manifests in very degrading ways in our life. It makes us do things that we should not necessarily do. It makes us do. So, this person, Theodore Decor, when he loses his mother and he comes across this painting that he steals, which he misunderstands and he steals, and then he takes this painting all across the world with him, and he goes into substance abuse, he goes into the wrong kind of company, he goes into all the wrong kind of things that he could have done in his life. When he finally gains his personhood, or a little bit of it, what he realizes is that every beautiful thing that came into his life, every single beautiful thing that came into his life was snatched away from him. And then this quote comes that the most beautiful things are the ones that are the most hunted, which means that everything that is beautiful that is surrounding you is very ephemeral. You you know it one day, but you don't know it tomorrow. You don't know it day after. You don't know it after after a number of days, you will completely forget it, because everyone wants that beautiful thing. Everyone wants life. So this photo, what it signifies, if you see the picture on the screen, if the bird is visible to you, what it shows is that birds are metaphorically and literally the freest organisms on earth, but they are in shackles. So what it says is that we go towards things that are beautiful. We want to surround ourselves with the things that are beautiful. We want to live life to the fullest, but we don't always get the life that we want, and we don't always get the beautiful kind of life that we want around us. And because of that very reason, we start losing people. We start losing the beautiful things that were there. We start doing things that we don't necessarily intend to do. And we also don't know why we are doing those things. But when we realize what we're doing, what we realize is that life can only be lived by actually living it. We cannot hypothesize that this is good and I should do this is bad and I should do this. We can live life and we can take in all the beauty that is filled in life by actually living life. And life will be destructive. Life will destroy you. Life will take out every little ounce of patience and courage and effort that you have. And it will make you feel like you're a very small person. It will make you feel like you're not worth it. But then the light at the other end of the tunnel, the beautiful view, the beautiful image that you see at the other end of the tunnel, which can be the person that you have become, which can be the relationships that you have cultivated, which can be anything, that can only be seen if you go through this bad part and if you trust in the beauty of life. So if there is someone I'm talking to who has lost a lot of people in his life, he will obviously not believe in what is going on around him. So the next book was On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. Now, this book is a very essential book in the sense that it is written in the form of a letter from a son to his mother, and it's written in a very poetical method. It's like you're reading poetry or prose in fiction. And it's the most beautiful cover that I have seen in my life, at least. So, in this book, what this person talks about. Ocean Wong is actually not a very frequent writer. He has written a lot of poems, but he has not written that many books. So, what he talks about in this novel, and he does that very beautifully, is the fact that there is a Vietnamese family who have flee from Vietnam and who have come to US. And this boy, he's from a very impoverished family. They are poor and they don't have means, and and on top of that, they are immigrants in another nation, in the nation that all of the people at that time aspired to go to, that is the United States of America. And then they go to a place wherein this boy meets another boy. He has come from an abusive parents' background. He is living a life of a very poor immigrant who is crushed from all sides by the government, by the people around him. And he falls in love with this guy, and he's a guy. So he knows that he is destined to be gay and he's gay in love. But the guy that he falls in love with, the person that he falls in love with, doesn't accept the fact that he's an actual person and he's a person that this guy loves. So the person that he falls in love with represents America, the America that crushes the immigrants who enter it, the America that doesn't acknowledge the people that have built it, the America that doesn't agree to the blood and toil of the people that has gone into America. And that is the same way in which this boy doesn't admit that he's in love with another boy. So a person can be crushed from all sides of the room, but he's still again. So my recurring theme will come out to be that you have to see beauty relentlessly. You never have to stop pursuing that beauty that is surrounded around you. Life will crush you down in various ways. You will not even know that beauty is there in front of you. You will really have to breathe, have to be in the moment. And you really have to acknowledge that you are surrounded by beautiful people, beautiful places, beautiful things. And that is how you will be able to take in the beauty of life and you'll be able to traverse the path of light. The third and the penultimate book that I'm talking about, this has won the Booker Prize. This has been nominated for the Booker Prize, and the name of this book is The Discomfort of Evening. So there are certain novels which are not very easy to read. Like when you read them for the first time, you feel like you don't want to read them or you want to keep them away. This was one of those novels into which, like, say three-fourth or halfway down, I was not able to understand or comprehend what this is about. But then I got to understand, and what I realized from this novel was that these were a family of people who were living, again, they were very poor and they were living in a place wherein they were hunter gatherers, they were farmers, and they were stuck by the death of a very close one. This the youngest boy of the family, he died, and the whole family was not able to go through what just happened, and their whole life reverses. When that person dies, the various members of the family react in such non-denial way, in such deniant ways, that it feels like they've never seen trauma in their life, even though they have faced death of people who were very elder, their grandparents. But when someone dies and he's very young and you don't expect them to die, they suddenly get stuck by a kind of trauma which nobody is able to process. And because of, and what is shown in this book is very significant, that the parents are also not able to traverse the trauma that they're going through, let alone the children. The adolescents who are talked about, they are not even that mentally mature to process trauma, but the parents are also not able to go through this much trauma. And as a result of that, they don't focus on their children, and their children are growing singularly in isolation in a world which is surrounded by so much ills and beauty. Their children are not able to distinguish good from bad, right from wrong, and they develop their own notions of sexuality and morality. They try and they experiment with each other to understand what sexuality means, what is their sexuality, what is the kind of ways in which you can experiment with other people. And also, because they are growing up in a Christian family, they don't know whether they should follow Christianity or not. And because their parents are so busy at the primal point of their life where they actually should be teaching their kids about right and wrong, the kids stumble and fall upon their own definitions of right and wrong. So this is what this book is about. And the last book that I'm going to talk about for today is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. It's a very famous novel, and it has also been converted into a movie. So if you want to look at the movie, that's also again a very good choice. So my cover looks something like this. So The Hate You Give is basically a book about a black family who's living in a white dominated area. And what happens to the black family is that the youngest girl of that family and her best friend are going on a trip, and the best friend, who's another black boy, gets shot down by the police. So you might be able to relate to the George Floyd incident that happened recently. So he's struck down by the police, and this person, this girl, sees all of it happening in front of her eyes, and she's so overwhelmed, but at the same time now she has the responsibility of going to the police and telling them, and telling in front of everyone, the government and everyone, that there was a policeman who struck down that boy. So she has to gather up the courage of collectively all of her community and represent them. So all of the novels that I've talked about today, they have something or the other that I learned from them. If I wouldn't have read them, I wouldn't have known the concepts of trauma. I wouldn't have known the concepts of homosexuality. I wouldn't have known the concept of black lives, and that they matter, and that we have a lot of privilege that sometimes we are not able to acknowledge. The fact that we're living in a world wherein, you
19
know,
minutes over.
okay, 19 minutes done,
19
right?
minutes over.
Sure. Thank you. So, to summarize all of this, what I want to say is that I think non-fiction is very easy to stumble upon because it talks about current incidents. If something has happened, the name of the book will be very close to what has happened. But what I would suggest is try to surround yourself with people who read fictional novels, and try to read a lot of articles from the Guardian or the New York Times or the HBR, and you'll get to know that there are a lot of brilliant non-fictional novels that are there. And there are a lot of book recommendations that I post on my Instagram if you want to follow that. There are a lot of recommendations that I get from the Bookstagram community as a whole. I scroll my feed and I see 10 books that I should read. then I surround myself with people and with book clubs like this and others where I get to know that I should read certain books. But to top it all off, because I like fiction, I try to seek more recommendations for fictional novels because I'm able to see the kind of revolutionary effect that fiction has. So with this, I'll just close it here and I'll open the floor to your questions.
Thank you,
Yes,
Arshin.
now we have 5 minutes for question answer.
Yeah, thank you, Arshin. It was really wonderful. Now we have the question answer session. You can ask the question. You can put your names on the chat box, those who want to ask a question. Anyone? Yeah, I can see Amrit's name. Amrit, carry on with your question.
Hi, Arshin. Arshin, a quick question. Can you tell me about a book that you really, a fiction book that you really did not like, and for what reason you didn't like it?
Okay. Okay, so I think I'm gonna be short after this because someone wrote Atlas Shrugged in the chat, but I picked up Atlas Shrugged and I picked up Moby Dick, and I don't know why, but somehow I might not be in the moment when I was reading them, so I was not able to complete it because of the size of the book. Even though I generally don't do that, I finish big books also, but I didn't want to pressure myself, and I read half of Ayn Rand, Atlas Shrugged, and I left half of it. So I think I might not have liked it or something might not have struck a chord, but I'll definitely pick it up again in future. Thank you.
Thank you, Arshin. The next question is from Minakshi. Minakshi, you can ask your question.
Hi, can you share one book, fiction book, which you would really highly recommend for all of us to read?
Okay. So I think, as I said, I'm doing the ad for Goldfinch, but Goldfinch is one book that I related to a lot. It is a 950 page book, I think, but it's still one of the books that spoke the most to me. So you should definitely read it because, when you read long novels or when you read long books, you actually live the character for 10 days. So, you get to know a lot about that person, his family and everything.
The next question is from Ashahar.
Yes.
Yeah, like fiction writing has the way of taking us away from the reality. So, in this context, what is the importance of reading fiction novels?
Yeah, very pertinent question, I think, because when I started reading fiction, I used to degrade myself saying that, I'm reading stories. How is it adding value to my life? People who are reading nonfiction are reading facts. They're getting to know more about life than me. But when I realized that the kind of fictional novels that I'm reading are actually very close to the heinous realities that are going on around us, and that I'm able to know more about stories. So when we read books, essentially, why are we reading books? Because we like stories. The basis of all books is stories, whether you read it in a fictional way or a non-fictional way. I connect to fiction more because it's very coherent and it speaks to me. So I'll suggest reading a fictional novel to all of you because stories are very easy to read and are very relatable. And if I give you a message along with it, then it's an added benefit, right? I see Pathikrit's name.
But I think, is there time for him? Is the timekeeper? Is there any more
Yes,
time?
yes, we have 1.5 minutes left.
Okay, okay.
Thanks so much for taking my question. Arshin, just a quick one. So there are a lot of fiction books that are available where essentially you have non-fiction writers or philosophers who want to explain their philosophy through a fictional instance. I think the biggest example that anyone will say is Ayn Rand's Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged. There are also other examples like Albert Camus' The Outsider or the many books of Jean-Paul Sartre. For such books, what's your take? Would you prefer the fictionalized version where the author tries to explain his or her philosophy through a story, or would you rather want the non-fiction, the thing that is presented as it is?
Yeah, okay. I think it's again a very good question. I would definitely prefer fiction. I don't know why, but I run to fiction whenever I'm asked this question. But the reason is again that one of my mentors taught me that if you can simplify a concept and explain it to somebody, you've won the battle of explaining anything to somebody. So fiction for me does that. It in very simple language and in very relatable, coherent language, it tells me a message. So I would definitely prefer fiction over a non-fiction. But if there's something that hasn't been translated to fiction and is only available in non-fiction, for example, Atomic Habits or Seven Highly Effective Habits of People, books like these I would have to read non-fictional because they're not converted. But something that I have in both versions, I'll run to fiction first.
Cool. Thanks.
Time's over.
Yeah.
Time's over.
Now we move on to the next session. We have a storytelling session by Shreya Kumari. Let us, I expect a wonderful story from you, Shreya. Come on.
Please check my audio if it's audible.
Yeah, you are.
Thank you. I am not going to listen any of the excuses this time. तो चल रही है हमारे साथ रेहान की पार्टी में, that's final. Squeaks Neha at her mousy and homesick friend Sahiti. Looks up Sahiti with her alluringly innocent eyes. Wait Neha, let me just call Rishabh if he's coming. She calls her boyfriend, whom she has been dating for 3 long years. And after a while, they are both seen jumping and dancing on the couch as Rishabh agrees to join the party. And the next day, ta-da! Here's your dress, madam. And I'm sure Rishabh cannot take his eyes off even for a moment. Smirks Neha as she unfurls that beautiful red dress. And after a while, the draperies of that room get unfolded by Sahiti's mother. The simmering jhumkas bump onto her glistening cheeks. She has always looked beautiful, but this time she looked special. She turns around as she sees her mom and says, Mom, I'm looking fine now. That dress is not too short, right? No, Beta, you look perfect, just like a princess. Her mom smiles adoringly and greets her a goodbye as she steps out of the home. Now, on the way to Rehan's party, Neha joins along with 2 other friends and robs Sahiti at Park Street because Sahiti wanted to wait for her boyfriend who was just about to arrive in 2-3 minutes. She was there standing among the crowd. Maybe she has never been in that kind of crowd ever. After a little over 2-3 minutes, she notices many people staring at her. Of course, some were staring at her beautiful and pretty face, and some, their eyes were leering from her legs to her face. She was unable to contain her anxiousness, though she did, until she hears this. Oh, these girls nowadays, what kind of dress they wear? And let me tell you, this was not from any of the sneerers. This was from a woman who was passing by. She broke down, and tears started lurking in her eyes. But it soon glistens up as she sees Rishabh across the street. She knew that he meant everything. He'll crash all those derogatory words. She steps closer towards her. Little did she know that he'll turn and say, Sahiti, what kind of dress are you wearing? I don't want you to be the object of those smearers. You get what I'm trying to say? Says her so-called loving and caring boyfriend while pulling her hands. She felt way more derogated this time. She didn't want him to crash the eyes and mouth of those smearers. Maybe she wanted a little comfort, a little hug, a little compliment that she looked beautiful. They both went to the party, and all throughout the party, she's numb, looking at the ceiling. Because those derogatory comments, not from the people, but especially from her boyfriend, persisted for so long. After a while, when the party gets over, her boyfriend drops her at the home, and she greets with a goodbye, with a sigh. And let me tell you, that sigh was not of comfort, nor satisfaction. That sigh was an indication of a turmoil in her 3 years long relationship. Then she gets into her room, sits on a chair, recollects her memory while looking at that beautiful photo frame that was gifted by her boyfriend. And there it was written, respect as one of the primary relationship goals. And she bends down as tears trickle down her beautiful eyes, on her glistening cheeks. And there comes her brother. Didi, how was the party? You must have enjoyed, no? She was just about to hide her tears, but all in vain. What happened, Didi? Why are you crying? She couldn't contain herself and broke down. And she hugs him tightly and says in a painful voice that Ayush, remember one thing. No matter what the girl wears, how she carries herself, you'll never ever derogate a girl. Promise me? I promise you, Didi, I'll never do that. She keeps reiterating this to days, months, and years because she knew that with this simple step, she'll save many girls from being derogated. And she'll save him from those reckless thoughts getting indoctrinated in his mind. Because it all starts here. Thank you.
Time's over. Time's over.
That was truly amazing, amazing, Shreya. And really a very, very sad situation for the girls. Very sad situation. Don't wear this, don't talk in this manner, don't walk in this manner. This is what we are continuously hearing. Thank you, Shreya. Now let us move on to the next session, that is the storytelling session. The volunteers can nominate for the storytelling, 2-minute storytelling session, and you can put your names on the chat box. I will call out the names.
We have Nisha as the first one.
Yeah, we have Nisha. We can start with Nisha.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. Shreya, what a beautiful story and narrated so nicely, so well expressed, your expression, the dimple playing on your cheeks. You looked amazing as you narrated the story. Thank you so much for that. Just give me a second. Yes. My story is named The Report. Trishna broke down into huge sobs as she saw what was written in the reports the doctor had just handed to her. Clutching it tightly to her breast, she wailed loudly, screaming out her husband's name over and over again. Shyam, Shyam, Shyam. The doctor did not attempt to stop her. He allowed Trishna to let it all out. Over the years, the doctor had become Trishna and her husband Shyam's great friend. He knew all about the anguish both of them had endured this past 15 years. Shyam was a plank of wood that kept Krishna afloat all these years. A freak road accident had snatched away that support from her just a few days back. On the way back from his morning walk, he had almost reached home when a speeding truck lost control and hit him. But Krishna did not break down then. She held on to his memories, and his words had continued to be the plank of wood that she clung to, even after his death. Today, 2 weeks later, it was the reports in her hand that broke her down. These reports would have been the harbinger of the greatest happiness of their lives had it come a little earlier and been shared by Shyam. The doctor knew that. Just 2 months ago, the couple had decided that this would be the last procedure they would undergo in search of their happiness.
Time's over.
Yeah, it was a new, sorry?
Time's up.
Time is up? Okay.
Time's up.
Yeah, your time is over.
The next volunteer is Abu Shadha.
Thank you so much. I've got a story. Whenever I lose hope, I tend to listen to this particular story, and it really motivates me. So once upon a time, there lived a farmer who had a donkey and who had a dog. And this donkey was always beaten by the farmer to such an extent that there would be points when the blood would ooze. The dog would notice everything. The dog would notice this donkey crying every day long, and the donkey never ran away, which the dog never understood. As always, this evening the donkey was crying, and this dog could not control his emotions and said, "Hey, you donkey, why did you run away? Every day you are ill-treated by your master. Why don't you just run away?" The donkey snobs and says, "I will never run away. And he says, why? Because the other day I heard the farmer saying to his daughter that if you don't study, I'll marry you to the donkey. So that gives a lot of hope, people. So that was my story to all of you.
Okay, that was amazing, Abu. The next storyteller will be Shweta.
Actually, I just decided to tell the story. It's not a story, it's a scene. And it's a real scene. I've written few years back, just 2 years back. So it's a scene, it's totally my story. It's a scene where I'm taking departure from my son, from my mother. You know, it's the toughest time of your life when you really depart from your mother, from your mother's home. So I'm about to leave. Cab has already been called. There is a buzz all around the home regarding the preparations of me leaving the home. But somewhere inside, I'm reluctant and wants time should stop here. Mommy is stepping up and down the home to check that I should not forget any of my thing here and there. And I know she's doing it deliberately, as she also doesn't want me to leave. How ironical. I don't want to leave. She doesn't want me to leave, but we can't stay together. I want her to accompany us, as I don't want her to stay here anymore. I don't know for whom she is living here, taking all the responsibility of the household chores. Papa has already left for the heavenly abode. Bro stays out of the town, and me, who visits her once a year, is also taking her leave. Shubham, my son, for whom his father's arms are always like heaven, also wants to come out of them and wants Nani should carry her. Somewhere that 3-year-old kid is also sensing departure. Suddenly, Chacha shouted, "Hurry up! The cab driver will not wait for long." This final call to rush has actually rushed the heartbeats. Perplexed mommy brings the puja thali so as to perform the parting rituals and stands in the center of the courtyard. Shubham stands holding her orangish, pinkish, flowery sari in which she always appears
Time is
extraordinarily
up.
fair and pink.
Time is
But
over.
today things are just contrary, looking pale and okay.
Thank you, Shweta. Next, we have Rajani.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, so mine is a story of Arjuna and Krishna. I think this one I read it recently and I keep reiterating to everyone that I catch hold of because it just relates to the current situation. So here it goes. During the Mahabharata, Arjun, while was, fighting off everyone, Krishna would only praise Karan. What a nice shot. It was brilliant. He is doing an amazing work. And Arjuna was just getting impatient. Not one word of praise or encouragement from Krishna. The day moves on, goes on. And in the evening, Arjuna couldn't take it anymore. And he asked Krishna, what happened? I mean, I think I was doing as good as him and my work was as excellent as him. I have also managed to kill a lot of our enemies. So why praise only one fellow? He said, Arjun, you had my blessings. You had me as a charioteer while Karan was fighting on his own. So, we must really commend his work. And they stepped down of the chariot. Arjun goes off. Krishna begs him to leave first. Arjun steps out and then does Krishna. The minute Krishna steps out of the chariot, it goes poof, burns off. And he turns and tells him that, you would have died a long time back. Karan had shot you a while back, but it was because of me that you were alive. So I think the lesson from this was that we should not be arrogant. If we are okay, we are doing well, it is because of God's intervention and his blessing, not because of what we are doing. So thank you.
Thank you,
Very
Rajani.
timely.
Next, we have Pragya.
A very good evening, everybody. I hope you're doing great. And I would like to tell you a story which is inscribed or subscribed in our mythology. And I am not very sure whether you people have heard about it, but it's a very smelly sort of a story. So there were two families. One was a very poor family and one was a very rich family. The poor family, there was a lady who dreamt of a Delty who came in her dream, and he came in her house and he asked her, "Where is your toilet? Tell me, please. I am feeling very shitty. Just tell me where is your toilet? Fast, come on." So she looked around her house and she was like, "Sorry, I don't have any toilets. Okay, so I have my bedroom, I have my kitchen, I have my head. It's all yours. Wherever you want to shit, shit." So, and the dream got over. The moment she got up, she saw that wherever she got to see, there were gold coins. Everywhere in her house were gold coins, even on her forehead were gold coins. When the society got to know that, how did that happen, and she narrated the whole story, the richer family person got very greedy. The richer family in likewise, the female of the richer family dreamt of a similar dream, and she said that, okay, she even saw the same Delty, and when the Delty came in her house and she said that, the Delty said that, "Where is the toilet? Come on, tell me, I'm very shitty. Just tell me, where is your house? Where is the toilet?" And she said the same lines which the poorer female said. And the moment she got up, you can think about it. There was shit everywhere. Shit everywhere. The moral of the story is that you should not be greedy, because the poorer family.
Time's over. Time's up.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Now we have Shefali. Shefali.
Hi, can I go at the end? I have a little network issues. Can I go after this?
Shefali, we can't hear you. Can you please unplug?
Yeah. I said I am having some network issues. Can I go at the end?
But you're audible. Shefali, you're audible.
Now you're
okay. Yeah. So, right. So, shall I begin? Okay.
Yeah.
So, this is the story. There were two animals. There was a lion and a boar. So, they were reaching a small water body and they wanted to drink something. They were really thirsty. So they began discussing with each other who should go ahead. So who should drink first? They really couldn't find that out. So after some time, when they stopped, they noticed that there were eagles flying above. So they got really scared, and they knew that one of them would eventually fall prey to an eagle, and it would feast on them. So then both the animals, they decided that it would be better, like if they would become friends instead of falling prey to eagles. And so they decided not to fight with each other, not to argue with each other, and just drink water together from that place and just leave. So they became friends, drank water, and they parted their ways. So the moral of this story is, so those who work together and against enemies who are trying to take advantage of their defeat, those who strive, they never fail. So that is my story. This is my first time in the meeting, so I'll try to be much better next time.
Yeah, that was wonderful, Shefali. It was good.
Thank you.
Now
We can accommodate only one more speaker.
okay, let us call Shradha. Shradha?
Hi everyone. Does it need to be a fiction story, or we can speak about a real life story as well?
Anything, I suppose. You can say any story.
Wonderful. So I'd like to talk about this real life story. I saw this movie recently. It was about Ernest Shackleton. Now this is back in 1900s. Ernest Shackleton was a polar explorer, and he set out on an expedition on a ship called the Endurance, which was a 350-ton ship. And his expedition was about to reach the South Pole by covering the entire continent of Antarctica, the first man to reach the South Pole. It was a very, very difficult task, but he geared up and he asked 27 other men to be a part of it. And that was their crew. When they set out on the expedition with utter determination that they are going to make it with the best of the team, they finally got stuck in the pack ice and their ship was trapped with the pack ice in the Weddell Sea. They didn't know what to do. Their ship was trapped, and because of the pressure of the ice, it was finally crushed, broken, and it sank into the frigid waters of the sea. They had to abandon their ship as well. Now, these 28 men were stranded on ice, did not know how to get back home. And that was when their struggle began. Ernest Shackleton was determined that he is going to get each and every person back home. And that was the biggest survival story of human history. He took his men to the Elephant Island. He let them be there. And with 5 other men on a simple boat, he let out on an island called the South Georgia Island. He asked for help from there, got another ship, got back, and rescued all the men over there, while the World War was on in the Europe and the Britain area. So the moral of this story is very simple: never give up. Thank you.
Wonderful, Shraddha. It was really amazing. I don't think we have any more time. Do we
Yes,
have?
we don't have.
Okay, thank you everybody
No,
for your.
we don't have.
Okay, thank you everyone. It was such a wonderful journey. We all sailed together into the wonderful journey of stories, enjoyed each and every story. Now, let us move on to the next session, that is the polling session. Now, you can vote. Everybody should vote for the best storyteller.
I'll be closing the voting in another 10 seconds. Please vote. We got 22 votes and there are 32 people in the meeting. Request you to please vote. It's your birthright.
I joined just in between, so I'm just skipping my vote, please. It won't be fair for everyone, all the participants.
Sure. I'm closing the voting now. Thank you so much. Geeta, you can continue.
Okay. So, thank you, everybody. Thank you, the keynote speaker. It was such a wonderful and amazing journey today. We all enjoyed each and every session. Thanks to the audience as well. Thank you so much. It was really very informative. I thank Arshin, I thank Shreya for their marvelous stories. It was so entertaining. Thank you, Ashahar, for being such a dedicated time manager. And last but not the least, thanks to the audience for your patience and cooperation and for your lovely stories, which filled us all with so much of fun. Now I would like to introduce you all to the next week's keynote speaker, that is Advocate Sayal Ray. Is he there today?
I can't see him.
No, he is not there, but he'll be there next time.
So the next week's keynote speaker will be Advocate Sayal Ray. And with that, I hand over the mic, or I can say the virtual stage, to Paramjot.
Thank you so much, Geeta ma'am. Hello, everyone. It was an amazing session, right? And please come on the video. Please come on the video and show it was an amazing session. Show just thumbs up. Amrit, can you help me with the memory? Thank you so much, Amrit. So leaders, Amrit, once done, just confirm, okay? Thank you so much. So leaders, I just want to tell one good news to you that our book club have recently crossed 150 plus members all across the world. Congratulations to you all. Congratulations. And this book club is running because of you guys only, because every Tuesday you stop by, you share your stories, you share your insights, you share your key takeaways from a book, and that encourage people to come every Tuesday. So starting from this, I'm being excited about the next week because next week the speaker is Advocate Sign Ray. If you don't come, he will sue you for sure. If you don't come next Tuesday, he will surely sue you. So please do come next week. And I would like to end this meeting with a gratitude to some of the very special people,
Madam,
specifically. Yes,
I'm so sorry. Ashwin has to announce the top 3 winners.
I'm sorry. Ashwin has to announce the results for the videos that we had sent, that everybody had sent.
Sorry.
So, Archie, please go ahead.
Also the story, right? The person who won the story.
Yes.
Okay.
The video one.
So, okay, I think we all know by now that the man who's running the ship is the best storyteller out here. So give a cheer for Abu, and he has won the best storyteller for today. And if you're not switching on your video, your entry to the group is at harm. Okay. Now, I hope the timer is not timing me because I wrote one line of feedback about everyone and the videos that they sent. So I'm just going to quickly motor through it and then I'm going to announce the top 3 winners. One thing that I remember from everyone's video, and Abu, if I'm missing anyone's name, can you please tell me at the end? So I'll start with Nisha. Nisha, you talked about Scarlett O'Hara and Gone with the Wind. The thing I loved about the video, first of all, it was a 5-minute video and it had perfect video editing. You literally had the book cover also, and we could literally see what book you're talking about. Otherwise, it's a classic, so I loved it. Rajni from MTM, you talked about Cecilia Ahern. The message that I still remember is that be flossom. That is something that spoke out to me. Shreya, you talked about Pride and Prejudice, and my favorite book from that author is Sense and Sensibility and Pride and Prejudice, which is why it spoke out to me so much. But what I loved about your video was the narration. Then there was another Rajni, I don't know if she's here, but she talked about Anne Frank, and she talked about one quote at length for 4.5 minutes, which was commendable. Amrit, obviously, I'm in awe of Amrit, the kind of way she comes on the screen and speaks. And to top it all off, I was expecting a very difficult author or a very difficult quote, but she talked about Enid Blyton and a very beautiful small thought. Then there was Pradeep, who talked about The Eye of the Hurricane, and the book that he used was All the Light We Cannot See, which is one of my favorite books. Mohanish, you talked about Game of Thrones and Tyrion Lannister. I think you sparked a very good conversation on the group after that, and there were a lot of contending opinions. But what I loved about it was you started with a song, so you put a lot of creativity into the video. Then Param, you talked about Seth Godin. So I told on the group also that I didn't know that other people also read Seth Godin. So I was amazed to see that. And for anyone who wants to know whether they like marketing or not, there's a 1.5-hour video on YouTube by Seth Godin about permission marketing and storytelling. You should watch that and you'll get to know. Okay. Then we had Abu, who talked about 40 Rules of Love. So one thing about Abu is whatever he does in life, I think he does with a lot of heart and a lot of dedication. Like he had the whole video editing thing aced. He had the book and he had the backgrounds. That was great. And I have read Elif Shafak, so I know that it's a very, beautiful author. Pathikrit, you talked about Lord of the Rings, and you talked about a quote which was, I think, one of the most powerful quotes out of all the people. It was the most impactful quote. Then I think Geeta talked about Wings of Fire, and you talked about how you should carry your pride, you should be confident in your own skin, which spoke out to me. Shweta, you talked about Harry Potter, and I haven't read Harry Potter, but after your video, I definitely want to read it because you so very well explained the quote. Then there was Ashahar, who talked about one of the books that I'm intimidated by because when I see Sapiens, I feel like I can't read that. But you talked about a quote which now is compelling me to read that book. It was so powerful and it was from a non-fiction novel which flouted the rules, but it spoke out to me. Then there was Sudeep who talked about Mahabharata, and I love the fact that you guys are bringing in a lot of mythology in all of this, because mythology has one of the greatest quotes out of all the books that we can read, or all the incidents that we can be, you know, influenced by. Am I missing anyone, Abu?
Maybe the track of time.
Yeah. I'll just take one more minute, because I don't want to. I have written everyone's.
Pragya, I suppose you haven't spoken about Pragya and Nisha.
Oh, Pragya. Oh, okay. So yeah, Pragya's was the link that I missed, and I saw that video later. So I think Pragya, let me tell you, I'm the biggest Murakami fan. So I've read 5 or 6 novels literally by Murakami, but I've not read Norwegian Wood and Kafka on the Shore, which is something that is on my TBR. But I loved how you put a lot of theater into your video. Like you were sitting and you were saying, okay, you must be wondering why I started this video like this. So, when you guys put a lot of effort, it feels like this everyone wants to do this. So now my top 3 out of all of the people, and if I'm missing someone, I'll definitely give you feedback later. My top 3 out of all the people was Amrit, Shreya, and Ashahar, because of the simple fact that the kind of way in which you narrated your quote and your book, it spoke out to me. And if I had to pick one winner, because I said I'll pick one winner, it'll be Shreya, because it was very beautiful. Like the kind of way in which you narrated your quote, it brought a smile on my face, and I could literally feel that I'm with William Darcy and I am living all that Pride and Prejudice world. So I loved yours, and everyone put amazing heart and amazing effort into it. So it was a great opportunity to see. I think I missed. I talk about Shweta. I think I talked about Shweta. Yes. Okay. Cool. So I'll hand it back to you so that you don't sue me.
I'm not the advocate. I'm not going to sue you. Sayan will going to sue you if you don't come. So I'll appeal him for that for sure. So I just want to tell you that there are some people who are running this show behind the curtains, and one of them is the backbone of our book club, is Toastmaster Abu Shadha. Our best PR person, Toastmaster Shweta. Our anchor, Toastmaster Geeta, have done job very beautifully. Our timer, Asher Adil, have been very vigilant about timing. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us every Tuesday with great dedication. Oh, I'm missing out on something. Okay, no, I think.
Bhai, storyteller, Shreya.
And yes, the beautiful contribution of today is Shreya. Thank you so much, Shreya. The storytelling was really amazing. We have heard your podcast and it was really amazing. Please reach out to Patna Toastmaster. They are doing the best PR in district I think, right? Division I. They are doing the best PR there, and they are innovating ideas every day. Thank you so much, Patna Toastmaster, for always being supportive there. And thank you so much, everyone. Let's end this meeting on a high note. Please stay safe. Take care of yourself. Good night. Goodbye.
Good night. Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.
Night. Goodbye, everyone.